Experience action. Let's stop just talking about customer experience, employee experience, and the experience of leaders. Let's turn ideas into action. Your host, Jeannie Walters, is an award-winning customer experience expert, international keynote speaker, and founder of Experience Investigators, a strategic consulting firm helping companies increase sales and customer retention through elevated customer experiences. Ready, set, action.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey, I'm Jeannie Walters. You're here with me because you have questions, and I really hope I have the answer. So let's go ahead and dive in.
Hi, Jeannie. Quick question. I have been working in the tech world for several years now, and I think it is so important for all companies to have a successful CX journey. Unfortunately, even with companies that know they have, in your words, CX pain points, they either don't have a budget for it or don't see the overall benefit in investing in it. From your experience, where within a company structure should this budget come from? How much should it be? Is there a magical unicorn company that has an unfettered CX budget? And how do you think they did it? Thank you.
Oh, this is such a great question because it's one that many organizations struggle with.
Where is the money?
How do you find the budget for customer experience initiatives? Who owns it? And how do other companies do this? Well, first of all, let me say that something you probably already know. Customer experience is not a nice to have, even though that's how it's viewed in many organizations. It really is a must have in today's competitive and digital world. Customers simply have more choices and higher expectations than ever before. They can switch to a competitor in a snap, through a click or through a link, and they share their lack of satisfaction with millions of people online.
I'm telling everyone about you.
So if we don't make customer experience a strategic priority and a source of competitive advantage, then somebody else is going to. And that means that our organization will fall behind instead of thriving in this new world. So now that we've established that, customer experience is also, of course, not a one-time project or department, but sometimes that's where we have to start.
Just start small.
So if you are struggling with kind of how to get and define budget, then think about it as what can you kind of dip your toe in with a project? Because essentially, as you've heard me say before, I really believe customer experience, when done well within an organization, is a mindset, it's a strategy, and it's a discipline. We call these the experience commitments. You might not have all of those commitments yet. So sometimes we have to start making the case in baby steps and then build around that. And finally, we want to think about this as we're not asking for budget because it's an expense, but we want to think about this as an investment. It pays off in so many ways, but we have to articulate the return on this investment. We're talking about, of course, increasing customer loyalty, but what does that really mean? Well, it means higher retention, which means reduced expenses in acquisition. It means higher number of referrals, which means that we don't have to work so hard for sales, that we will get more customers simply by treating the customers we have really well.
That's the way you do it, huh?
It means advocacy. Our customers can become part of our sales force when this is done well. And then, of course, we're going to reduce complaints, and that reduces service costs. And the list goes on and on and on. But essentially, we have to stress that this will have a positive impact on the bottom line and the long-term growth of our organization.
Yay!
So how do organizations find the budget for CX initiatives? Well, there's no one-size-fits-all answer, which, hey, I say that a lot, don't I? But the scope, complexity, and urgency of the situation, that really can drive the availability, the allocation, and the approval of the resources. So knowing all of that, knowing there's nuance and knowing that we might have to build a business case, we might have to win hearts and minds, here are a few ideas for how an organization can really secure that budget. And if you're one of those leaders in the trenches listening to this, hopefully one of these ideas you can start applying to your organization to get the resources you need. Because if I were a betting person, I would say many of you do not have the resources that you need to succeed.
Here's what you need to do.
So one principle here is to start small and show value. So instead of asking for that big budget up front for a big and risky initiative, maybe start with a small pilot or a proof of concept that can demonstrate quick wins and tangible results. And this is where we want to use data and metrics. So we want to measure the impact of the initiative. Sometimes this is around making one small change in the customer journey based on the feedback that you have. And then you can do a before and after comparison. How did customers feel about it? Did they actually stay in the journey longer? Did they move through the journey where maybe before they were getting stopped? All of those things are great to measure and then show as a quick win. Then use these results to build a bigger business case and justify this return on investment when you ask to scale up that initiative or launch new ones. Another thing we need to do is involve and align stakeholders. So instead of working in silos, we need to be that cross-functional cheerleader. We need to really make sure that instead of competing resources, we're actually talking about collaborative resources. And we're the ones who have to communicate that across the organization. So if you don't yet have that leadership buy-in, that cross-functional collaboration, in order to do this well and get the budget and resources you need, we need to focus on that. I would encourage you to go back, listen to some of the podcast episodes we've had on that and some of the resources that we have around cross-functional support and buy-in, because that is so important to get that sponsorship and endorsement from senior leaders, because they have the authority and influence to actually approve the budget and champion these initiatives across the organization. And then we also want to think about this in a bigger way, right? So we want to think about how can we tie this to the rest of the world, rest of the marketplace. Now, one of the interesting things that's happened in the last few years is that the US government has really started to pay attention to customer experience and the importance of it. And that's because they know that their role is to deliver for their citizens. And in many agencies, the complaint is that the customer experience is just not that great. So they are investing millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in improving processes, making sure that people are trained in the right way, and really to make sure that they are going to deliver a simple, seamless, and secure customer experience. That's how they worded that. So that just tells you how important this is, no matter what industry you're in, and the fact that, yes, we need to provide some budget for it. So it's not just about the public sector or the private sector, it's about all of us in this together.
Teamwork.
So how can leaders do this on their own? Here are two ideas for you. One way is to actually align your customer experience budget with the greater kind of discussion that's going on in the world. Look for the data points about what's happening in your industry. Look for what's happening within, for instance, that customer experience management budget of the United States, and start comparing and contrasting and saying, hey, if this is happening over here, I think this needs to happen here. Another way is to really make sure that you are gaining that cross-functional support, because sometimes this is not one line item. This is about, hey, you know what? We need a technology platform for a better customer experience feedback mechanism. Well, that might have to come from IT. And then you might need to talk to your contact center and say, we need to invest in more training here. Well, that might have to come from learning and development. But when you think about all of these things together, that's where you can really make the case for the customer experience strategy. And the more that you can show that, you know what, when we did invest these technology dollars into a technology that fits within this strategy, we saw real results. We saw those quick wins. Then you start building a bigger case and you say, you know what, if we had actual resources and if we had control over a budget for this customer experience strategy, here's the return I believe we could get for it. And you really start building that case around not just why I need this budget, but what will this budget do for our organization? Now, if you've never created a success statement, if you've never defined success before, now is a great time to do that too. So check out our resources around a customer experience success statement. We have that available for you at experienceinvestigators.com. Now, if you are fighting for budget, if you are looking around trying to make something work, if your challenge is that you have too small of a budget for what you really want to do, I really encourage you to look for What are those pilots you can offer? What are those short-term things that will give you a big win that you can build your business case on? We need to think like business leaders, and too often customer experience leaders, frankly, don't. They think in terms of what's good for customers, how do I increase this metric, but they don't make that case around the business. And that's what I want you to do. So this is another great question. You all have such fabulous questions because you are in there, you are making this happen, and you are driving change on behalf of your customers every day. And I'm here to support you for that. So keep these questions coming. Keep me on my toes with these questions because you all do that too. If you have any feedback for me or about the podcast, maybe you want us to do this a little differently, we're open to that too. A great way to do that, leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/experienceaction. Until next time, keep doing what you're doing and get the resources you need. To learn more about our strategic approach to experience, check out free resources at experienceinvestigators.com, where you can sign up for our newsletter, our Year of CX program, and more. And please follow me, Jeannie Walters, on LinkedIn.